Religion as we know it today is a way for people to better understand life and is used as a guide for how to live. But there are religions that existed for thousands of years that predate those that we know of today, including Christianity, that taught other strange or even disturbing things and were extremely popular among many people. That is, until one day when they mysteriously disappeared. Here are 10 mysterious ancient religions that disappeared. Number 10 is Mohism. Developed by Chinese scholars studying under the philosopher Mozi, Mohism was a popular religion before disappearing around the 2nd century BC. While Mohism also dealt with philosophical issues and was even used in lawmaking, its religious aspects were the foundation for the entire belief system. Mohists believed that supernatural forces moved throughout the world and had to be appeased with offerings. Animals were often sacrificed to appease these forces. Mohists believed that the will of Shangdi, meaning the Lord on high, had to be carried out at all costs, and that it was the duty of each human being to love even strangers as if they were family. While Mohism no longer exists, elements of its teachings can still be found in more modern versions of Taoism and other Chinese religions. Number 9 is Ajivika. While Buddhism and Jainism still exist, there is a third religion which emerged from India around the same time, but finally disappeared during the 14th century. This religion was known as Ajivika and was founded by one of Buddha's contemporaries. What made Ajivika controversial at the time was that it promoted the idea of fate. The idea that everything that is going to happen has been preordained and that therefore no one has free will. The Ajivika religion also argued against the idea of karma, which was an essential piece of popular religions at the time. This resulted in conflicts between different religious groups and culminated in the execution of around 18,000 Ajivika followers. Although the religion survived for thousands of years, it did so as a small sect before finally disappearing. Number 8 is Manichaeism. Founded in what is now modern Iran during the 3rd century, Manichaeism was a religion which spread as far as China, only to finally fade away by the 15th century. Focusing on the battle between good and evil, the teachings of Manichaeism were based on the beliefs of the Iranian prophet Mani. Manichaeism rejected belief in an omnipotent God. Instead, the cosmos were governed by two equally powerful beings, one representing light and the other evil. The battle between these two beings produced the physical world, and so all elements of the physical world, including human beings themselves, possess aspects of both good and evil. The titanic battle continues inside each of us today. However, unlike other religions on this list, although Manichaeism eventually mysteriously disappeared, there is, believe it or not, now a growing interest in this ancient religion. Number 7 are the Ebionites. The Ebionites were a Jewish Christian group who interpreted the life of Jesus Christ in a very different way from what would become the mainstream. They believed that rather than being the Son of God, that Jesus of Nazareth was actually just a prophet. This meant that some of the key aspects of modern Christianity, such as the resurrection and labeling of Jesus of Nazareth as the Messiah, were not accepted by this group. While much of the Ebionites' own writings have been lost to time, we know that the word Ebionites can be translated as the poor or poor ones. It's thought that the Ebionites took a vow of voluntary poverty. Some academics argued that the Ebionite religion managed to survive for over 1,000 years. However, like the other religions on this list, one day it mysteriously disappeared. Number 6 is the ancient Greek religion. While many of the ancient Greek myths are still popular to this day, any religious association with these stories died out a long time ago. The ancient Greeks believed in a number of gods who existed in a hierarchy. Each god had their own characteristics and stories, and different groups would worship those gods which were more connected with their own way of life. At the top of this hierarchy, of course, sat Zeus, who was more powerful than the rest. However, interestingly, Zeus was not all powerful, as he had his own limits, and the gods themselves were often depicted as having human desires and frailties. Many of these gods were later adopted by the Romans after they conquered ancient Greece in 146 BC. However, when it comes to the original ancient Greek religions, nobody knows exactly why they suddenly and mysteriously disappeared. Number 5 is Mithraísm. Mithraísm as a religion was practiced by the Romans around 1400 years ago, but has long gone extinct. The religion involved the worship of a deity known as Mithras. What's so fascinating about Mithraísm is that its members were sworn to secrecy and gathered out of sight for ritual feasts. These meetings were held deep underground in secret chambers known as the Mithraísm. Because each member vowed to keep the rituals and beliefs of Mithraísm secret from the rest of the world, much of what is known of this religion is based purely on speculation. Not a single religious document on this religion exists. However, reliefs and statues depicting Mithras slaughtering a bull are common to the underground temples. Without any written religious texts, the secrets of Mithraísm have died along with its followers. Number 4 is the Druidic Religion. The Druidic religion dates back to before the time of Christ, but like the Druids themselves, it completely disappeared. The Druids were members of the Celtic societies found in Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and Cornwall. They were referred to as the lore keepers and were involved in rituals and organizing worship within the Celtic kingdoms. This included brutal rituals such as sacrificing people in huge figures made of wicker, which were then set on fire. Most of what we know about the Druidic religion comes from others. Julius Caesar himself wrote that the Druids were proponents of reincarnation. In the 18th century, the Druid religion was actually resurrected, but with little documentary evidence for what they actually believed in, it's difficult to know how close to the original religion new Druids are. Number 3 is the Olmec Religion. Around 400 BC, the Olmec civilization collapsed, taking with them their art, history, and even religion. The Olmecs lived in parts of modern-day Latin America, including Mexico. Mystery surrounds just what their religion was like. They appeared to worship a number of gods, which was not uncommon in the civilization which followed them. It's believed that religious ceremonies were overseen by shaman and ruling leaders, who claimed to have a deep connection with these supernatural entities. This connection to the spiritual world seems to have been captured in a number of relics, called the transformational figures. These strange animal hybrid figurines may indicate that hallucinogenic drugs were an important part of the Olmec religion and their ceremonies. Number 2 is the Canaanite Religion. In parts of the Torah and Christian Bible, the Canaanites are described as enemies of the Israelites. While we know that they existed around 2000 BC, their ancient religion is still not fully understood. Some believe that the Canaanite religion was monolatristic. This means that there were many gods in their religion, but that different cults and sects rose up to worship and favor one deity over the rest. This deity would differ depending on the sect. The Canaanites believed that after death, the soul would depart the body and travel to the land of Mot. They also believed that their dead had to be buried with offerings so that they wouldn't haunt the living. It was during the Bronze Age that the Canaanite civilization collapsed, and with it, their religion mysteriously disappeared, not to be followed by a single person afterward. And number 1 is the cult of Aten. The cult of Aten was a religion which briefly thrived in the ancient Egyptian civilization. Differing from the mainstream Egyptian religion, the cult of Aten worshipped only one god instead of several. During the 14th century BC, a new Egyptian pharaoh changed his name to Akhenaten, which means the servant of Aten. He decreed that the old Egyptian religion of many gods should be replaced with the worship of only one, Aten. However, this did not go down well with the population who had worshipped the Egyptian gods for nearly 2,000 years. When Akhenaten died, his son Tutankhamun restored the old gods. Akhenaten's very name was wiped from the list of kings along with his new religion. Some believe that the cult of Aten gave its idea of having only one god to later religions, namely Judaism and Christianity. Thanks for watching, but we're not done yet. On your screen, there's 2 more videos that you can tap to check out right now, or if you want to check out all of my most recent videos, you can tap that little iCard in the corner of your screen. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.